A little more gravity. Hello, everybody. Hello, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. I usually get that right. All right. We're gonna play 5 minutes per side. Alright, Gravitrons and everybody, we're gonna review this game. Black made a sacrifice for a sustained attack, and it worked out well. Black for me. Good chess. Alright, guys. Let's see that this game wasn't very accurate according to the computer. 60 and 70. This is both sides below 71. Let's see what kind of missteps we took, or if we have some light to shed on Torch's evaluation, or both. E-Pawn, we're playing into this Ruy Lopez opening. These moves have been played many, many times. It's a very strong opening. Let's see. Played 307 times as black. I believe that's me alone. This position has been known for that. I played a6. Okay. I played a6 and the bishop went to bishop a4. I pushed forward with b5. And when the bishop went to b3, right, we were just about there. We had just played 5 bishop b3 with black to move. Yeah, so, wow. Master Games has this at about 1,200. 1,200 different games have been played this way. And it looks like white has some advantage. I've played this game a good deal myself. Okay, well, whatever it is, bishop e7, pawn to c3, and some of these moves have been seen before for sure. This is well within established Ruy Lopez theory. The king, my white made kingside castles here. It's fine. It's solid. More often we see d4 right away, or sometimes a little more solid, a little more long-term thinking. Even you could argue pawn to d3, and that cuts out black's most aggressive options, in the words of international master Andrew Martin on the ABCs of the Ruy Lopez. He has two of his videos I appreciate very greatly, and they are the ABCs of chess openings and the ABCs of the Ruy Lopez. So, if he's out there and listening, thank you, international master Andrew Martin. What I've learned from those CDs has helped. All right, now I open things up here with pawn to b5, pawn to d5. I would also often take on e4. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, here we show that Torch is recommending knight takes e4, and then support with the d5 pawn can be undermined, but only at the cost of a bishop, and then the queen swooping in to also still maintain the protection of the pawn of the knight at e4. So I could have captured that pawn. I opened up the position instead, and so now I think we're on probably new ground right about now. And bishop to g4 brings along with it a pin, strong pin, good pin on f3. It's not the end of the world for white, but thinking from black's point of view, there are multiple ways to perhaps pile on to this pin and maybe overwhelm white on the f3 square, on where the knight is. So my opponent didn't want any of that. Playing h3, kicking the bishop, or as many say, putting the question to the bishop. Is my bishop going to capture on f3? Because this might be his last chance to do so. Or is my bishop going to play bishop to h5 and leave the knight alone for the time being, trying to maintain the pin, which also might not last because of because of g4. I decided to withdraw a bit. Why? First of all, g4 is still playable, but it's not all that good. It's not a move you really want to play as white. Leaving all this air around white's king just is not good. Since the king has castled already, g4 is not as good as if the king hadn't yet castled. Okay? I think we saw this in the game, so pawn to g4, and just bishop back to g6. I don't want to get crazy right away with things, sacrifices or anything like that, but this bishop is awesome. On g6, he has scope all the way to b1. Look at all these. He covers 4 squares in between. This is a superstar bishop that black has stationed reasonably safely on g6. I mean, he's not totally safe. There's this pawn storm idea. But, you consider white's side of things. This is he's trying to make this bishop unsafe. It's not doing it. Not yet. Not until h4 and h5, and even that can be met with a timely h6, and then tucking the bishop to h7 and being really shielded from pawn advances. So my opponent decided to shake things up. I don't know if that was his, her, they wording. Her wording with the A at the end of the. We'll say his, her, they. It's probably her, but I want to be cautious about things. So knight takes e5 is not that bad of a move, and I think grabs material as well. It just, like, as we see in the moves per the game, white's king is a little bit loose here. He might be able to be attacked. So I capture back with the knight, and after rook takes e6, I'm down a pawn, and I went to aim for the h3 pawn here. And I'll be honest, I hadn't anticipated pawn to d4, even if it's a miss by torch. And I'm going to switch over to the analysis view now. I hadn't anticipated pawn to d4, and I hadn't anticipated queen f3, which torch now lends. Yeah, this queen f3 is pretty good, because when the knight wants to move, say, to d3, then black would be exposing himself to some attack on f7. Not right away because of the bishop guarding f7, but if black doesn't castle in a hurry, things could get a little bit weird out here for black. So queen f3 is a good move. I don't think it's not the death knell. It's not the nail in the coffin for white, destroying black's plans, but it's a good move that does a lot of things all at once. Okay. All right. So torch points that out. It's been I've captured, or I've come across eavesdrops, echoes, and whispers that some people want me to evaluate some games without the computer engine assisting me. I will do that. I will do that. I've decided that I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We'll see where it goes, but I'll most likely be evaluating some of the most important games with computer maybe after I've already evaluated them without, or whatever the deal is. I just want to know that that idea is being considered, and I've decided, yes, I can do that. Alright, so d4 here invites the sacrifice played in the game. Knight takes h3 check. This kind of discombobulates white's king, and there are a lot of squares to which he may go or flee. But from black's point of view, you don't really want to make this sacrifice either, because say like king g2, then the knight sacrifices himself on f2. King takes f2, and I don't think black really wants to give away that kind of material for would be attack. And on the other hand, white's not so happy because his king is pretty much a sitting duck. So this is sort of a strange moment in this chess game. King comes to g2. Pawn to h5 says, look, you can have the knight, and I'm going to see what I can do with some dynamic tactics. Maybe I can sneak in a fork or a skewer or something of that nature. So king takes h3 is actually not the move because of pawn takes g4, check, a double check, and we see that white's king is drawn ever closer to what's his king even doing there? Without most of his army, literally most of his army, what would his king even be doing on g4 at this part of the game? So I saw the potential for threats on h5, but I was also aware rook takes h5. How to say this? Just that bishop h5 check isn't ready yet. Okay, rook takes h5, rook takes h5, king takes h5. In an insanely advanced position, looks like maybe white is still just about holding on to things. Let's check with the practice versus computer. Is black to move? I'm saying that bishop to h5 check just probably isn't quite ready yet for black. Okay, so we end up with this positive score, nope, we don't. We end up with a negative score, going back to my original point that this is a strong threat that's just not quite yet ready yet to be cast against white. So I decided, let's jostle the rook around a bit. He's under attack. He's losing the exchange on f5. He's losing a lot on g5 and e5. He's losing more than a rook on h5. Much more than a rook on h5. d5 looks like a possibility. Rook to d5 might have been a move for white. And it's not. Black might have to take time out to play bishop d6. Rook to c5, it would lose the exchange. So really, if white wants to keep control of the h5 square, which he must, then the move is rook to d5. Queen takes d5, yes, a queen sacrifice. Bishop takes d5. Bishop h5 check. Find a safe move with the king, probably king to g3. Bishop takes queen on d1. And then I think white can capture with bishop takes a8. It's a lengthy combination. Okay, more simply, now I know that other combination works because my opponent has chosen something that is definitely good for black, which is play rook to e2, and now the computer evaluates this as even, but I don't know. This looks pretty. If all else being equal, I'm saying this doesn't look so bad for black. This is a killer. All right. Well, at any rate, it's a game. Let's go back, and I'm gonna force black's hand a bit here. Force the computer's hand a bit here. He won't mind. Well, he won't mind because computers of this sort don't have hands. Rook to d5 is designated as a blunder. interested in is the piece count and the material count at this point. Black has an extra piece. So that didn't work out. Okay, well, some parts of this haven't worked out. My opponent shows the mistake. Rook takes e7 check. Perhaps not finding a way to fend against the threat on h5 of bishop to h5. And now Black gains a heck of a lot of initiative in an attack. Pawn to f5 serves purposes of just squares around White's king. And the attack, the move queen to h4 check is also very extreme here. Queen to h4 check, and White will be fleeing to either f3, where bishop to h5 check garners Black the queen after this skewer, and bishop to h3. I think this is how we went in the game. Or king to g2. We can follow up with queen h2 check, and we're gonna win the queen over here. All right, fun game, good game. Now let me play this out to checkmate in practice. the game was not considered very accurate. I wasn't surprised by that. And the game itself was inaccurate and then played out to checkmate. Still not all that accurate, which is fine. Sometimes fun games are like that. I prefer accurate games. I think it's one of the improving the accuracy of your moves, but improving the accuracy of your moves when compared against computer best moves. I mean, that's one of the ways to success, to playing stronger chess. But sometimes the position is a little bit wild. This position, I mean, this is some wild and crazy chess. Like it's dynamic. It's weird. There's no symmetry. Look at, you can hardly find a shred of symmetry in this position. One king's castled. He's extremely unsafe. The other king hasn't castled, and he's quite safe. Like, what the heck is going on this chessboard? I'm looking at the board after Black's 12th move. Knight takes e5. This is it's 12 moves in, but this is a crazy and dynamic position. It's the type of positions that you could play it over and over with an equally skilled or closely skilled friend, and one of you is gonna win one day, and the other of you is gonna win the other day, and so on. I don't know. Chess is full of positions like this. Games that bring about positions like this. There's white to move. Yeah, maybe you grab the knight. That might be more obvious than I was indicating, but it's just, even here with black to move, it signified that by, or make it showing of that by highlighting the black king on e8. Crazy. This board is crazy. It doesn't even have to look so crazy in the way of things, but there's a lot going on this particular chessboard. I think the Murphy Gambit, I'm supposed to play pawn to c6 here. Let's try that out against the computer playing on its maximum level. Pawn to c6, I believe, is fine. Yeah. Black's doing well. Okay. That's good to know. This is this still in the Royal Open. This is probably new ground here. By move 13, we're probably looking at new ground. But it's hard to say. A lot of this was just standard Roy Lopez stuff. So that much, there'll be a lot of pathways trailblazed to as far deep as that goes. C3, I'm sure, is still within things. Knight f6, I believe, is the Berlin. This might just be quite directly the Berlin defense. Castle's king side. Yeah, this is where we start sort of going outside of known territory. D4 comes very often there, or D3 even. But yeah, no, like I said, it's a game. It's a game, and it's a beautiful one. Black's 13th move, I would consider c6. I would consider Castle's kingside. I might start signifying a kingside castle just like this, and let it be known that the rook goes to the other side, without the red square for the rook, but still with the arrow for the rook. That's fair, right? That's one. That would be. I mean, it's still pretty obvious what's occurring in terms of the move. So that's what I'm going to start doing. Yeah. Okay. C6. Castle's kingside. Bishop takes b1. If there's a way to justify that tactically and strategically, then yeah. Void of that, you wouldn't want to trade a bishop that, you know, bishop g4 and then h5 and then to g6 and then to b1. That bishop will have moved 4 times to trade itself off for a knight that hasn't moved at all. That would not normally be good. But if there are some other ways, like maybe bishop takes b1, yep, so white recaptures with the rook, obviously it's the only way to do it. Rook takes b1, and then if there was some, you know, fantastic move with the queen that attacks the rook and this h-pawn, for instance, all at the same time, then you're kind of, then you're starting, that's not so bad, not so bad. It doesn't do it quite yet, so maybe there's a way to strengthen the attack before things. Knight to f4, hitting at the h3 pawn, and we're close enough to it that this might actually be an attack now. We'll hold off on bishop takes b1 for the time being. Play knight to f4 right away. Does black have a move to sort of cut things out before they start, or to staunch things? And he does. Queen to, or does white have a move to cut things out? Queen to f3 does it. But you know what? You would look for maybe like other things that you like to do based on your strengths as a player. Queen to d3. Well, I at least offered the queen trade, and my opponent snagged the knight. So you know, it's some of these positions we come across in a game of chess don't have a clear answer. This position right here, there's no clear. It's just not clear what is going on in this position. I want to actually see if sometimes computers can help us find that there is one clear answer, and so we're gonna let Torch help us with that. I clicked the wrong button. I just want analysis of the position at present. I think we can get there. Yeah, so it turns out c6 is pretty good here for black. There's a healthy amount of space between c6 and black's next best computer move. This is, I don't know if this is technically squarely within the Murphy Gambit. Some call the Morphy Gambit. But c6 is strong here for black. Alright, that's all. I'm just playing that one game for this. I'm just playing this one game for now. Let me close a few windows here. I'm gonna add this game to some of my collections. I think it's gonna be good for me to have this to know which games I've reviewed and stuff. Alright, thank you my friends, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.